people are having many questions, many doubts regarding string, and I think after the today's session, you will have a very good understanding related to the string and how string can, how we can improve our application performance using string, that we'll discuss. So first, this is our today's agenda. So these are the concepts we are going to discuss. String are a reference type. People are having many confusion. So like int double, string is a primitive data type, they might be thinking, but this is not wrong. I will prove this string is a reference type. Then I will show you the difference between this capital string and the small string. When to use capital string and when to use small string, that I will show. Then I will show you string are mutable. So I will explain you the concept, what is mutable, what is immutable, right? And how strings are immutable, which are mutable, that I will show you. Then I will show you how we can improve the performance using string intern. There is a concept called string intern in CSharp. I will explain you what is exactly that concept. Then I will explain you string builder for concatenation. If you are performing a big string by concatenating one string with another string, then which one is preferable? String, you should use string or you should use string builder. There is a concept called string builder, which is specifically designed for string concatenation, right? So you can say like this string builder for string concatenation, right? And then I will explain you why do they make string as immutable. See, if they are making string as immutable, then we should know why they should make the string as immutable, right? That concept also I will explain, right? And after this concept, I'm also targeting two more things. So what is the difference between convert to string method, and there is a method called the toString method. So that we will also discuss. So let's start with our today's discussion. String are a reference type. So first point is string are a reference type in CSharp. See, string are reference. That means they are normal. They are not normal data type, or you can say they are not primitive data type. For example, if you go to the definition of int, right? So integer x equals to 10. Integer is a primitive data type. Float y is a primitive data. Why I'm writing here? Can anybody tell me why I'm typing suffixing the word f here? Can anybody tell me why? If I am removing f, then what will happen? Now, if I'm removing f, then by default it is going to be double type, right? So by default, any floating point number you created, it is going to be double. But if you are creating integer, then it is acceptable, because this is not a floating value. This is an integer. Integer size is 4 byte, and 4 byte can be stored inside float data. But if you are making this as a float number, then by default it is going to be double. And if you want to store this value inside a floating point variable, then you can suffix the data with the capital F or small f. That is no matter, right? So if you go to the definition of this float and int, you will see that the type is struct. Go to definition. So what is the type? Type is struct. So whenever see a data type is struct, means it's a value type. And if you are seeing the data type as a class means what? Now it is a string type. So string, I'm writing str equals to hi. Now, if you go to the definition of string, then you will see that it's a class, right? It's a class. And we already know class is nothing but a reference data type. So if you are seeing struct, then it's a value type. If you are seeing class, then it's a reference type. So don't be confused. So string is a reference type because its type is class. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can say struct. Struct means value type, but string is a class. So class means it's a reference type. Then you have two things. So what is the difference between capital string and a small string, right? So, okay. Actually, both the small string is actually an alias of the capital string. So you can say string str2 equals to hello. I'm writing like this. And if you see, both are acceptable. So here I'm writing capital S and here I'm writing small s. So this small string or small s is actually an alias or alternative name for this capital S. If you go to the definition, of the string class, then you will see that it is taking me to the capital S and it's a class. So this small string is nothing but it is an alias of capital string S. Then you might be questioning, so when to use capital S and when to use small s, right? See, so if you are declaring a variable like this, you need to use string class. But if you are calling any method, then you need to use the capital S. Is that clear? Suppose I'm declaring here, I'm creating a variable string str3. Okay, so I'm declaring, I'm calling one method string dot. So you can see there are how many methods are there? There are many methods, right? So I'm just concatenating, right? So you can see this is these are two strings, so it should not be, it should be small s. So whenever you are declaring a variable like this is the variable declaration. So if your intention is to declare a variable, then you need to use small s string. But if you are calling any method, if you are calling any string class method, then you need to use capital string. This is as per Microsoft recommendation, but it is not mandatory. Instead of small s, you can declare capital S here, it is acceptable. And instead of a small capital S, you can also call like this. This is also acceptable, but this is not recommendation. Why? Now, according to Microsoft documentation, if you want to call a method, you need to use the class name. And if you go to the definition of this is a class. The class name is capital S, right? So it should be capital S. And in our example, whenever you are declaring a variable, you should always use the certain name or alternate name of the string class. So this is the string class. So you need to remember these two. So there is no difference in the capital S or small s string, right? Small string is actually an alias of the capital S string. String is a reference type in CSharp. And the reason when to use small string s or capital S string is if your intention is to declare a variable like this, you need to use small string. And if your intention to call any string class method, if you go to this string class, you will see that there are lots of methods. Going further in our session, going further in our course, we'll discuss this join method. We'll discuss this equals method, copy to method, split method, right? Train, substring. There are many methods are available. If your intention to call this method, see here I am calling this concat method. So if your intention to call the method, then you have to use the capital S. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. There should not be any confusion between them. Now, one more important point that we need to remember is string are mutable. String are immutable. So before understanding what exactly why strings are immutable, right? First, we need to understand two terms. What is mutable and what is immutable, right? So mutable means can be changed, whereas immutable means cannot be changed. By looking at this definition, did you understand anything? By looking at this definition, mutable means can be changed, whereas immutable means cannot be changed. Did you understand anything?
Yes.
Can you explain what we mean by mutable means can be changed and what we mean by immutable means cannot be changed?
Mutable means value can be changed, whereas immutable means value cannot be changed.
Yeah,
So
mutable is like a constant that can't be changed. Mutable is just like a regular variable.
So value change means what exactly happened inside the whenever you are. Do you know what exactly happening? Right. Suppose I am creating string hello.
In runtime.
Yeah.
The get and the set.
So in this case, this I'm creating a str variable. I'm storing value this, right? So in this case, I'm assigning str to high. Is this acceptable or not?
Yes.
So initially it is storing hello. Later I am able to modify the value or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can modify the value, but like we cannot change its index position. Like
So where is the index position comes into picture in this case?
no, in this case, it's like it's valid. We can like first, like in str to first we assign it hello and then hi. It's valid.
No, I just need to understand when this statement is executed, what happens, and when this statement is executed, what happens, right? That I want to know.
No, overwrite the hello.
Okay, let's proceed and understand. See, so string means on mutable means can be changed, and whereas immutable means cannot be changed. And C-sharp string are immutable means C-sharp string cannot be changed, right? See, here I am having one example. So string str, I'm storing .NET. So what it will do is it will create an object of string and assign the value .NET. Str tutorial means it will create a phrase object and assign the value tutorial. So initially when the first statement is created, this one object is created inside the heap memory, and that object is referenced by this str variable. You understand this point? Whenever the first statement is executed, this thing is happening. Object is created and this str referring to that object. Is that clear?
Yes.
When the second statement is executed, str equals to tutorials, a phrase object is created inside the memory. Right? A phrase object is created inside the memory, and that current or the phrase object is referred by this str variable. And what about the older object? Now the older object reference is deleted, and that will be available for garbage collection. So once a string object is created, once this object is created, you cannot modify this value. Right? Once the string object is created inside the heap memory, you cannot modify this value. You cannot store tutorials in this location.net. You cannot remove .NET and you cannot store tutorial. So every time you assign a new value to the string variable, a phrase object is going to be created, and that phrase object is going to be referred by your string variable. Right? So in this case, initially .NET is stored. But when you assign this new value tutorials to this str variable, this older value is there. The older value is not deleted immediately. It will be there, but available for garbage collection. And the new value, a new phrase object is created, and that phrase object is referred by this str variable. So this is the reason why as the string, once you create a string variable, once you create a string object, then that object cannot be changed. Whenever you are unable to change the value or change the object, so this rectangular block, consider it as an object. This rectangular block, consider it another object. Once you create a string object, the value cannot be changed. If you assign a new value, a new object is going to be created. The older object is there, but it will be available for garbage collection. Garbage collection, one concept is there. We'll discuss that in detail. Garbage collection, it is part of the CLR, which is run frequently in some time interval, and it will check whether is there any object available for garbage collection. If available, then it will destroy those objects, right? And once there is no reference for this object, right? Hello, is anybody listening? Okay, so is that clear? Why C-sharp objects are immutable? Immutable means you cannot change. What you cannot change? You cannot change the object, right? So this is one object. Whenever the first statement is executed, this object is created. Whenever the second statement is created, a new object is created. It is not going to replace, or it is not going to modify this value. Rather, it will create a phrase, a new object, and that new object is referred by the string variable. Yeah, tell me.
So, sir, like my question, like in this case, like you are saying that a new object will be created. So, like
Yes.
it means that like it will be stored like some other memory location. Like if
So yeah. So see, whenever I will explain the stack and the heap concept, and at that time I will explain. See, we have two type. We have two kind of a data types, right? One is primitive and built-in data types. So string is a built-in data type also, but this is not a primitive data type. This is a reference data type, right? So what
Yeah.
is the difference between a reference data type and a primitive data type? Means primitive data type directly hold the value, but reference data type, they don't directly hold the value. Instead, they hold the reference of the object. So in this case, string is a reference data type we have just discussed because it's a class, right? So
Yeah.
for example, if you are creating a class, so if you are creating class employee, so here also employee is a data type, but it's a class type, right? So class type means if you create an instance of this employee or class, then the object is going to be created inside the heap memory. And so for example, suppose I'm creating like this employee emp this. So this is your object creation statement. This is your variable creation statement. This object is going to be created inside the heap memory, and this reference variable is going to be created inside the stack memory. And from that stack memory, it will refer to that object. So in this case, you can consider this as two parts.
So my question was like in this first we stored .NET.
Yes.
Okay, then we stored tutorials. So like you use that cross mark, that
Yes.
X mark. Okay. But if it's like in case of integer, then like
I'll come to that point now. Just wait, I will come to that point.
okay.
But for now, for the reference type, for the reference type means string is a reference type. So in the case of reference type, if you created this object, right? And if you so whenever you are creating this string means it's an object. Tutorial means it's object. Here we are not using new keyword, but directly it is also going to be an object, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is one object. This is one. When you assign the string equal to tutorial, say a new object will be created, and the older object, so new object is created, and the str is pointing to that newly created object. That means the reference to the old object is going to be deleted. Once the reference is deleted, means this object is available for garbage collection. Garbage collector will come and will destroy the memory allocation for
Yeah.
this.
Got it.
Is that con? But this
Yeah.
is not the value for value data type, right? So this
Yeah.
is not the value for value data type. If you are creating a value data type like this, integer x equals to
Yeah.
100, x equals to 200, in this case, this declaration part is going to be done inside the stack memory only.
Okay.
There is no concept of, because this is not a reference type. They are going to hold the value directly. In this case, x will hold 100, and whenever you assign x equals to 200, this 100 is replaced by 200. You understand? So if you are taking some reference data type like string, object, or any class like employee, student, anything, then they are going to be immutable. Means you cannot change the object value. You cannot change the object. But if you are taking any built-in data type, they are mutable. Mutable means you can modify the value like this. Is that clear? Hello, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now you might have one question, sir. You are saying this thing. You are creating the diagram by yourself, and you are explaining the concept. But can you prove this? The string is immutable, and this built-in data type, this primitive data types are mutable. Yes, I will prove this. Okay, let us prove this. See. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating a string variable, right? I'm creating one loop, and this loop is a big loop. So you can see how many times this loop is going to execute this much of time. And each time what I'm doing, I'm creating a new string variable and storing that value in the string variable. So GUID.new GUID means each time the application will run, each time the statement will execute, right? It will create it will randomly created a new string. If anybody working in real-time application, then they might be know the importance, the use of this void.new void function, right? So it's basically going to create a new string, right? If you are working in a real-time application and if you are implementing the logging functionality, whenever a request come, if you want to generate a new ID for that request, then this is the best way. You can create this new ID, and you can consider this is a unique string for each request, and you can whatever the logging you are provided, you have to append this string so that you can trace that in later. Yeah, for this request, if I'm facing some issue, then please check the GUID, and wherever the in which statement and wherever this GUID is present, that means this log is for that particular request, right? So that you need to understand. But for now, we are just generating a new string for each request. So here you can consider this is the this number of times the loop is going to execute, and each time we are changing the value, right? Now, please observe how many times this statement is going to be execute. How many times means this number of times the statement is going to execute, but how many second or milliseconds it take or it took to execute this loop, that we are printing here. Let's execute the application. So my loop is started. It's a very big loop, so it will take some time. It might be take 20 millisecond or 20,000 millisecond, 21,000 millisecond like this. So let's wait for some time. Okay. So still the loop is executing means your object is created, and the object, see, whenever you are creating a new object, it will take some time. But if you are using the already created object, then it will not take time. So see, it's taking approximately how many milliseconds? 26,000. So this is a string. This is a primitive data type. With primitive data type, it took around 26,000 milliseconds. Now what I'm going to do, instead of this, what I'm doing, I'm creating one integer variable, and I will check. So with the string, how many times it takes? 26. With string, approximately 26,000 millisecond it took. Right. Now let's, instead of string, I'm declaring one integer. Integer I equals to 0. So this is one integer value. No. Integer count equals to 0. So what I'm doing now, each time the loop is executing, what I'm doing, I'm just assigning the I value, the counter value to this, so that each time the value of the counter is going to be changed, right? So now let's execute this application and see. So how many milliseconds did it took? 116 milliseconds. But with string, how many milliseconds? 26,000. Why? Because in this case, each time a new object is going to be created. So creating a new object is taking time. But in this case, new object is not created. New memory allocation is not there. It will use the existing memory allocation. In this case, new memory allocation is there. Each time we assign a new string, a new memory allocation is there. But in this case, new memory allocation is not there. It will use the existing memory allocation. That's why it is taking 116 milliseconds. But this is taking how many milliseconds? This number of milliseconds. Is that clear? Is that clear? And here I'm using stopwatch. Stopwatch is basically, it is a functionality. If you are developing any real-time application, and if you want to trace, and if you want to check how many seconds or milliseconds the function is going to take, how many milliseconds the loop is going to take, how many milliseconds the one database call is going to take. If you are calling one API call to some third party, then how many second or how many time or how many minutes or seconds that API call is going to take. So you can capture those by using the stopwatch. It is a very useful functionality, and this stopwatch is available in system.diagnostics namespace. So how to use? So just create a create an instance, then call the start method so that the stopwatch will start, and just call the stop method so that the stopwatch will stop. So in between the start and stop, how many seconds are there, you can get by using this 11 milliseconds property. So once you call this property, it will give you the time in milliseconds. Is that clear?
Can we predefine the time in milliseconds? Can we put a put a control on this?
Predefined time in the sense what?
Means, see, suppose I want one API to run,
Okay.
say, in about 10,000 milliseconds.
Okay.
Can I predefine it in the program itself?
Predefined API to be run. See, so what I understand is, suppose you are calling one API call and you expected API call should be completed in 10 milliseconds or 10,000 milliseconds. If not completed, then you want to cancel the API call. Is that your thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So you cannot use this stopwatch functionality. In that case, you can use token, right? Cancellation token concept is there. So using cancellation token, you can cancel the execution of a method or an API call. But the condition is that if that is in a synchronous or a parallel operation, right? So using cancellation token, we can cancel the execution of a method or of an API call. So we'll call the API and we'll check. If and we'll set the timer. Yeah, if we are getting the time in 10 milliseconds, that is well and fine. If you are not getting the response in 10 milliseconds, just cancel the API call. That we will discuss. So in our course view, if you look at the asynchronous programming, right? So we have already that is part of our course. So cancellation token. So where is that collection framework? Yeah, how to cancel a tax in CSharp using cancellation token. So we will discuss this cancellation token in detail. So once you execute a method or once you call an API, and if you want to cancel that API after some time interval, you can do it, no problem, using cancellation token. That we will also discuss as part of this course. See, this course is not designed for some, you can don't consider this as a basic concept, right? What is required from industry point of view, everything is available inside the course. If anything is not available, then please let me know. I will definitely add that concept in this course. Okay.
Okay.
So now you understand what is, now you will understand what is mutable and what is immutable and what happens in the case of a mutable and what happens in the case of immutable. Is that clear?
Hello.
Yeah.
So like what we understand is like for this mutable, like each time the new object will not be created, and for immutable, each time the new object will be created.
Each time in the sense when you assign a new
Yeah,
value,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That is fine.
Okay.
So each time you assign a new value, then a new phrase object is going to be created, right? So now but there is some interesting fact. So what is the interesting fact? Now see, in this case, if you are assigning a new value, then the object is going to be created once more. But in this case, if you are assigning the same value, then what will happen? In this case, the loop is going to be executed for the same amount of time. But in this case, we are not assigning a different value. We are not using new ID, right? Or we are not assigning a new value. What we are assigning? We are assigning the same value. If we are assigning the same value, then what will happen? Does it create new object each time? Or it will not create the, just give me 1 minute. See, so if you are assigning a new value, then a new phrase object is going to be created. If I am assigning the same value again and again, does it create a new object each time? No, it will not create new object each time. See, now if I am running the application, see how many milliseconds it took to complete the execution. See, 96 milliseconds. If it is completing the execution in 96 milliseconds, what it means? It means it is not creating new object each time we assign the same value, right? Then how it is possible? This is possible because of the concept string intern in C#, right? So string intern in C#. Then what is string intern? Now the string intern in C# is a process that uses the same memory location if the value is the same. In this case, first time you created this object, store this value, the memory location is created. Second time, come to this place, same value. When it found the same value, then it will think. First, it will check whether the same value is already exist in the memory location or not. If it is already existing, then let me use the same memory location. No need to create a new object. If it is a different value, then it will create a new memory location. Is that clear? This concept is called string intern. Clear or not?
Yes, yes.
Okay, see, the string intern is a process that uses the same memory location if the value is the same. In our example, when the loop executes for the first time, it will create a fresh object and assign the value .NET tutorial. When the loop executes second time, before creating a fresh object, it will check whether this value is already there in the memory. If yes, then it simply uses that memory location, else it will create a new memory location. This is nothing but CSharp string intern. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you are running a loop and assigning the same value again and again, then if you use the string interning to improve the application performance, right? In this case, rather than creating a new object, it will use the same memory location. But when the value changes, it will create a new fresh object and assign the value to the new object, right? So why string interning comes into picture? String interning comes into picture to improve the performance of the application. See, without string interning, right? So the application took around 26,000 milliseconds, but with string interning, it took something around 100 milliseconds. And string interning only come into picture when you are going to assign the same value again and again. If your value changes, then string interning is not comes to the picture. Okay, is that fine?
Hello.
Yeah.
So, sir, like internally, it is comparing the old value stored or like what?
Yeah. So it internally, whenever this value comes, so I have already pointed out the same thing. So see, so when the loop executes for the first time, it will create a fresh object and assign the value tutorials to it. Right? .NET tutorial will be assigned in the fresh object because it's a new value, right?
Yeah.
When the loop executes second time, before creating a fresh object, it will check whether this .NET tutorial value is already there in the memory. If yes, it simply uses that memory location. Else, it will create a new memory location. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now one of the important concept which is related to string is string builder. As we already discussed, if the value changes, then every time it will create a new fresh object, right? And this is because of the immutability behavior of the string. So when the value changes, a new fresh object is created because string is immutable. The string immutability behavior can be very, very dangerous when it comes to string concatenations, right? So this string immutability behavior very dangerous, right? So in previous example, we are just using this one, right? So in this case, we are not doing any string concatenations. We are just assigning a new string to this string variable, right? But if you are doing something like this, string plus this one, so this is called string concatenation. And string concatenation, guys, very, very, very dangerous. So now if I run this application, if I wait for 5 minutes, then also the program is not going to be completed. Let's see this. Now let's start the application. See, loop started. It will not complete it in within 1 minute or 2 minutes because string concatenation is very dangerous. See, now let's please observe the memory. See, so this is very, where is our application? This, see, very high, right? Visual Studio is high, types of demo is high, Zoom meeting is very high. I don't know why Zoom meeting is high, but these two you need to observe, Visual Studio and this is our exe. These two are having the power usage high. So you can see the CPU usage is also high, 2610. Memory usage is also high. Yes or no? And still, if you look, the application is not yet completed. That means string concatenation is very dangerous when you are coming to C# programming language, because of the string immutability. Each time you concatenate the string with the same string, it will create a new string. So it's very dangerous. Yeah. So see, still the program is executing, still not the program is done. So it is going to take more and more time. So string concatenation is very dangerous when it comes to C# programming language because of the string immutability behavior. Then how to solve this problem? See, how to solve this problem means you need to use string builder. So what we need to do is we need to use string builder. So first we need to create an instance of string builder, and to this instance, what you need to do, string builder dot append, you need to append this. So what functionality we did previously, it will do the same. But in this case, you will see that in previous case, we have not able to complete the program after waiting 2-3 minutes. But in this case, it will be done very quickly. Okay, let's reduce the loop size.
It's using up a lot of your memory. I was watching.
Yeah, let's make it as 3000. Okay, let's first check with the string how many time it is going to take. Let's increase the value little bit high so that we can see the performance. Let's make it as 30,000. And now let's run the application. Yeah, you can see it is completed in 20,841 millisecond, right? So loop execution is 24,814 millisecond. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the string builder with the same thing. Right? This is also going to do the same thing. Whatever the string builder is holding, it will append the new string. So now let's execute. So it is completed in 37 milliseconds. Yes or no? Yes or no? So that means if you want to improve the string concatenation means if you are performing some string concatenation, then don't use string. The recommended class to use the recommended option to use string concatenation, to perform string concatenation, to use string builder. See, with string we are getting the output in this millisecond, but with string builder we are doing the same thing, but we are getting the output in this millisecond. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So in the case of string, what will happen? So initially it will store .NET tutorial, then it will store .NET tutorial. If you are doing the same thing, concatenating the same string again and again, so tutorial, then second time, this is third time. So each time a new memory allocation will be there, and this string concatenation is going to take time. After concatenating, it will create the memory location, that is also going to take time. But this is not happening in the case of string builder. In the string builder, what they will do is in the same string they are going to update the things, right? They are designed the string builder specifically for string concatenation. In the same string you can do the updation, so it is not going to create a new object again and again. Rather, in the same memory location it will append the string, right? So then the question is, why do they make C# string immutable? Now the question is why they made string as mutable. because of a thread safety. So we have not yet discussed the multi-threading. So when we'll discuss multi-threading, at a time I will explain you the thread safety. Right? They make the string class as thread safety, and they make the string class as immutable because of thread safety. Right? I'm not going to explain this concept right now. Once I started discussing the thread safety concept, then I will explain you what is exactly this multi-threading and what is why they make the string class as immutable and how we can achieve thread safety with string immutable. And but one more thing, I just need to tell you what is string. String is nothing but a collection of characters. Yes or no? Collection of characters. That means if I execute this statement, then what will happen? A character array will be created and with the size 2. So, and we know array are fixed size. So in this case, what will happen? One character array with size 2 will be created. Yes or no? Character
Yes.
array with size 2 will be created. Now, if I'm assuming str equals to hello, what it means now? How many character I'm trying to assign?
5.
But we know array are fixed size or dynamic. Array size is fixed. So if the array, if this character array what we have created in this statement, it's created with size 2. Can I store this 5? I mean this 5 character inside this size 2 character array?
No.
No. That means what happened in this case? Now it will copy, it will create a new character array with the new size and it will store that way. Right? So this is the another reason why they make the string as immutable, because string is nothing but it's a character array. And we know array is a fixed size. So that means when this statement is created, one array is created with size 2. And whenever we are assigning this value, we cannot store this value in a 2 size character array. For to store this string, we need at least 5 size character array. So what you will do? It will create a new array and copy this element. This is another reason why they made